She arrived, a whirlwind of innovation and ambition, ready to seal a deal that would redefine green technology. But the polished doors of the elite lounge swung shut in her face, a dismissive, wrong card, wrong dress ringing in her ears. Little did the concierge know, the very man she was waiting for, the Prime Minister himself, was just moments away from walking through those same doors, ready to turn her quiet humiliation into a national headline. This isn't just a story about denied access. It's about a woman who proved that true power isn't about the door you enter, but the impact you make. Before we carry on, please hit the subscribe button to make my day, and let me know where you are watching from in the comments. Nia Franklin straightened the skirt of her meticulously tailored, deep emerald dress, a garment chosen specifically for its blend of professionalism and understated elegance. The fabric, a sustainable silk blend, shimmered faintly under the cool, recessed lighting of the airport's exclusive executive terminal. She clutched her vegan leather brief, its contents holding the culmination of years of research, countless sleepless nights, and a fierce, unwavering belief in a greener future. Today, Nia, CEO of Viridian Innovations, a burgeoning force in sustainable energy solutions, was not merely traveling. She was on the cusp of securing a landmark partnership with the Canadian government, a deal that promised to propel her company, and indeed, the entire nation, toward a more environmentally conscious tomorrow. Her destination within the sprawling terminal was the Maple Leaf Elite Lounge, an exclusive sanctuary reserved for the highest echelons of government officials, business magnates, and diplomatic delegates. The Prime Minister's office had specifically instructed her to await him via. Nia had envisioned a quiet moment to review her presentation, perhaps sip a calming herbal tea before the whirlwind of meetings commenced. The anticipation in her chest was a tight knot of excitement and nervous energy, a familiar companion before significant professional milestones. As she approached the lounge entrance, a sleek, obsidian-colored door flanked by polished brass, she noticed the concierge, a man in an impeccably fitted charcoal suit, standing stiffly, his expression one of almost clinical detachment. He possessed the IRO, someone whose entire existence revolved around regulating access, a gatekeeper, privilege. Nia offered a polite, confident smile. "Good morning. Nia Franklin, CEO Viridian Innovations. I'm hired to meet with Prime Minister Davies." The concierge's gaze, cool and appraising, swept over her, lingering for a fraction of a second too long on her dark skin, then her hair, styled in elegant, intricate braids. His lips, thin and bloodless, barely moved as he spoke, his voice clipped and devoid of warmth. "Your card, madam." Nia reached into her brief and presented the sleek black access card she had been provided by the Prime Minister's office, a temporary pass for high-level visitors. It was emblazoned with the official seal of the Canadian government, a clear indication of her authorized entry. The concierge took the card, his manicured thumb tracing its edges with a theatrical slowness. He then slid it into a discreet scanner embedded in his podium. A tiny, almost imperceptible red light flickered. He withdrew the card, his gaze returning to Nia, a faint, almost imperceptible smirk playing on his lips. "I'm afraid, madam," he announced, his voice carrying just enough to be heard by the few other travelers milling nearby. "This card appears to be invalid for this lounge. Furthermore," he paused, his gaze sweeping over her dress with an even more pronounced disdain, "the dress code for the Maple Leaf Elite Lounge is strictly enforced. It would appear you are in the wrong dress for this establishment." Nia's polite smile faltered. The words, delivered with such condescending authority, struck her with an unexpected sting. Invalid card? Impossible. And wrong dress? Her emerald silk was exquisite, appropriate, and certainly met any reasonable standard of business attire. The implication was clear, even without the explicit words. You don't belong here. It was the subtle, insidious sting of prejudice, disguised as protocol. She had faced it before, FKOS, throughout her career, particularly as a black woman leading a tech company in a predominantly white, male-dominated industry. But it rarely ceased to sting. Her initial response was a surge of indignation, a fiery rebuttal ready to burst forth. She wanted to argue, to demand an explanation, to brandish the email from the Prime Minister's office, but then a deeper, more pragmatic part of her asserted itself. A public scene, however justified, would do her no favors. It would only serve to derail the focus from the crucial business at hand. She took a slow, deliberate breath, forcing herself to maintain her composure. "I assure you there must be a mistake," Nia stated, her voice steady despite the tremor of suppressed anger. "I am expected by the Prime Minister. Perhaps you could verify my appointment?" The concierge merely offered a curt, dismissive shake of his head. "My system is infallible, madam, and my interpretation of the dress code equally so. I suggest you find another waiting area." He then turned his attention to an arriving couple, already extending a welcoming, practiced smile, effectively dismissing Nia. A wave of humiliation washed over her. To be so casually, so rudely, brushed aside, not just as a professional, but as a person, felt like a slap. Her meticulously planned morning, her carefully curated presentation, suddenly felt tainted by this petty, demeaning encounter. She could feel the curious glances of the other travelers, a prickle on her skin. Nia, however, was not one to wallow. Resilience was a muscle she had flexed countless times in her life. She would not allow this small-minded individual to derail her focus or to diminish the significance of her work. The Prime Minister would arrive shortly, and she would be ready, regardless of where she waited. She turned away from the polished doors of the inaccessible lounge, her shoulders held high, her expression unreadable. She walked away from the hushed elegance of the exclusive area, past the gleaming designer boutiques, and found herself in a more public concourse. Her gaze fell upon a small cluster of vending machines, tucked away near a row of ordinary plastic chairs, a stark contrast to the plush velvet and hushed tones of the elite lounge. A wave of quiet defiance settled over her. Fine. If the elite lounge wouldn't have her, she would make do. She pulled out her phone, opened her presentation, and purchased a lukewarm bottle of water and a bag of plain crisps from a nearby vending machine. The mundane act, in the face of such blatant exclusion, felt oddly empowering. Nia sat down on one of the utilitarian plastic chairs, the faint hum of the vending machines a steady backdrop. She took a deep breath, consciously pushing the sting of the concierge's words from her mind. She would focus on what truly mattered: her pitch, the future of Viridian innovations, and the monumental potential of her partnership with the Canadian government. Her emerald dress, dismissed as wrong, suddenly felt like a quiet symbol of her unwavering commitment to sustainability, a silent rebuke to the superficial judgments of others. She would not let this moment define her, not when a far greater purpose awaited. She lost herself in the intricate details of her proposal, the complexities of energy grids, the projected environmental impact, the economic benefits. Minutes stretched, then perhaps 15 or 20, the hum of the vending machines a constant, rhythmic drone. Her focus was absolute, her mind already navigating the hypothetical questions and objections that might arise during her meeting with the Prime Minister. The sting of the concierge's dismissal had faded, replaced by the familiar intensity of her professional drive. Suddenly, a subtle shift in the atmosphere. The gentle murmur of the terminal grew hushed, replaced by the purposeful cadence of approaching footsteps. Nia, still engrossed in a complex financial projection on her tablet, barely registered the change until she felt a distinct, powerful presence approaching. It was an unmistakable shift in the air, a ripple of quiet anticipation that heralded the arrival of someone significant. A retinue of security personnel, their expressions alert and focused, moved through the terminal, creating a discreet perimeter. Behind them, a figure emerged, immediately recognizable from countless news broadcasts and official photographs. It was Prime Minister Davies himself, his distinguished gray hair catching the light, his familiar, approachable smile gracing his features as he greeted a few passing travelers. He was accompanied by several senior aides, their faces serious and attentive. Nia looked up, startled, her tablet still clutched in her hands. She had expected him to proceed directly into the elite lounge, not to walk past her, sitting unceremoniously by the vending machines. Her eyes involuntarily flickered towards the concierge at the lounge entrance, who was now standing ramrod straight, his face a mask of practiced deference, clearly ready to usher the Prime Minister inside. As Prime Minister Davies drew level with her, his gaze, which had been scanning the terminal, suddenly swept over her. For a fleeting second, his eyes widened in surprise. Then a broad, genuine smile spread across his face, replacing the formal cordiality. "Nia!" he exclaimed, his voice warm and unmistakably pleased, cutting through the hushed murmur of the terminal like a clear bell. He immediately veered from his path towards the lounge, stepping directly towards her, his hand already extended. Nia, caught completely off guard, fumbled her tablet, nearly dropping it. She quickly rose, her heart leaping into her throat, a wave of shock and exhilaration washing over her. "Prime Minister Davies," she managed, her voice a little breathless, quickly extending her hand to meet his. His grip was firm, warm, and surprisingly earnest. "Nia, my dear, what are you doing out here?" Prime Minister Davies asked, his brow furrowed with genuine concern, his gaze sweeping around the utilitarian waiting area. He then looked pointedly at the nearby concierge, a silent question in his eyes. Before Nia could even formulate a diplomatic response, Prime Minister Davies turned back to her, his smile broadening, pulling her closer with a gentle, inclusive gesture. "Our green tech partner. I was just about to head into the lounge to find you." He then turned slightly, facing the accompanying aides and, more significantly, the now frozen concierge and, inadvertently, the small crowd of curious onlookers who had stopped, drawn by the sudden shift in atmosphere. "Come, Nia," Prime Minister Davies continued, his voice ringing with clear pride and enthusiasm. "We must get a photo. The media will want to see our collaboration with Viridian Innovations. This partnership is vital for Canada's sustainable future." He then, with a flourish, turned Lyra slightly, so she was facing the small crowd, and with his arm still gently around her shoulders, he pulled her into a spontaneous photo opportunity. Aides immediately sprang into action, one pulling out a phone, another discreetly signaling a waiting journalist. Everyone turned. The hubbub of the terminal instantly died. The lounge went silent. The concierge, who moments before had dismissed her with such disdain, stood utterly motionless, his face drained of all color, his eyes wide with a dawning horror. The other elite travelers, who had been witness to Nia's dismissal, now stared, their expressions a mixture of shock, confusion, and belated recognition. The subtle hum of the vending machines seemed to amplify the profound silence. Nia, despite the dizzying rush of adrenaline, felt a wave of profound satisfaction. It wasn't about vengeance or even personal validation, not truly. It was about the quiet, undeniable power of merit, of competence, of a vision that transcended superficial judgments. The wrong dress was now standing shoulder to shoulder with the Prime Minister, poised to make history. And in that moment, under the sudden glare of attention, Nia Franklin knew that her quiet wait by the vending machines had just become the most powerful statement of her career. The impromptu photo op unfolded in a blur of flashes and excited murmurs. Prime Minister Davies, a master of public relations, spoke effusively about Viridian Innovation's groundbreaking work in sustainable energy, highlighting Nia's visionary leadership. He gestured to her with genuine pride, emphasizing the importance of this partnership for Canada's environmental goals. Nia, recovering quickly from her initial shock, found her voice, speaking articulately and passionately about the project, her words imbued with the conviction that had driven her company from a concept to a formidable enterprise. All the while, the concierge stood transfixed, a statue of mortification. His face, usually so composed, was now a kaleidoscope of disbelief, fear, and utter humiliation. Nia's gaze met his for a brief moment, and in his eyes she saw not just recognition for identity, but the crushing weight his colossal era. He was no longer the gatekeeper of an exclusive domain, but a man exposed, his petty prejudices laid bare for all to see. Nia felt no triumph, only a quiet, almost pitying understanding. His world, built on rigid hierarchies and superficial judgments, had just crumbled. As the brief media scrum dissipated, Prime Minister Davies finally guided Nia towards the entrance of the Maple Leaf Elite Lounge, his hand still gently at her back. The concierge, still visibly shaken, practically leaped to attention, pulling the obsidian door wide with an almost desperate eagerness. He offered a stammering apology, his voice barely audible. "Madam Franklin, my deepest apologies. There must have been an unprecedented system error." Prime Minister Davies, with a knowing glance at Nia, simply offered a polite, somewhat cool nod to the concierge, then ushered Nia into the opulent space. As Nia stepped across the threshold, she deliberately met the concierge's gaze one last time, offering a small, enigmatic smile. No words were needed. The message was KLA. The lounge, which moments before had been a symbol of exclusion, now welcomed her with an almost deferential silence. The few elite travelers inside, who had witnessed the entire spectacle, now averted their gazes, a palpable embarrassment hanging in the air. The hushed whispers that had accompanied Nia's initial dismissal were now replaced by an almost reverent quiet. Nia felt a subtle shift in their energy, a dawning realization of her true stature. Prime Minister Davies led her to a quiet, secluded corner of the lounge, where plush leather armchairs awaited. He settled beside her, his expression now serious, focused once more on the business at hand. "Nia, I apologize for that unfortunate incident," he began, his voice low and sincere. "That concierge, I've had my suspicions about him. Your experience confirms them. Rest assured, it will be addressed." Nia simply nodded, appreciating his directness. "Thank you, Prime Minister. It's not entirely unprecedented." Her subtle implication, a quiet acknowledgement of the systemic biases she often encountered, was not lost on him. "I understand," he said, his gaze empathetic. "Which makes your success all the more remarkable, Nia. You are a truly exceptional leader. Now, tell me about this new development in your clean energy initiative. My team is eager to hear the details." As Nia opened her brief, the tension of the morning began to recede, replaced by the familiar thrill of discussing her passion. The environment within the lounge had completely transformed. Aides now approached her with respectful deference, offering her refreshments, their previous indifference replaced by attentive eagerness. The lounge, once a symbol of exclusion, now felt like a stage, and Nia, the unexpected star. The rest of the morning unfolded seamlessly. The meeting with Prime Minister Davies and his senior advisors was productive, insightful, and filled with a genuine enthusiasm for Viridian Innovation's groundbreaking work. Nia, armed with her compelling presentation and her unwavering belief, articulated her vision with clarity and conviction. The partnership, which had been hanging in the balance due to bureaucratic hurdles, suddenly seemed to gain unstoppable momentum. During a brief break, Nia found herself walking by a large window overlooking the tarmac, a moment of quiet reflection. The sun, now higher in the sky, cast a warm glow on the polished surfaces of the lounge. She caught her reflection in the glass. Her emerald dress, the very one deemed wrong, now seemed to glow with a quiet triumph. It wasn't just a dress. It was a symbol of her journey, of the barriers she had broken, and of the unwavering spirit that had propelled her forward. She thought of her late grandmother, a woman who had taught her the enduring power of resilience, the importance of standing tall in the face of adversity, and the quiet dignity of pursuing one's purpose regardless of external judgment. "Let your work speak for itself," her grandmother used to say. Today, Nia's work and her very presence had indeed spoken volumes. The experience at the lounge, initially a moment of sharp humiliation, had ironically served to strengthen her resolve, to remind her of the deeper significance of her mission. It wasn't just about securing a deal. It was about demonstrating that innovation, leadership, and merit knew no boundaries of race, gender, or superficial social standing. It was about opening doors, not just for herself, but for all those who might face similar, unjust exclusions. Later in the day, as the meetings concluded and the framework for the partnership agreement was firmly established, Prime Minister Davies personally escorted Nia to her departing flight. As they walked through the now bustling terminal, he paused, a thoughtful expression on his face. "Nia," he said, his voice earnest, "I want to thank you, not just for your brilliant work, but for your grace and composure this morning. Your resilience, your refusal to be deterred, it truly made an impression." He offered a warm, genuine smile. "I believe this partnership, driven by your vision, will not only transform Canada's energy landscape, but will also send a powerful message about the kind of talent we champion, regardless of where they might initially be found. You've taught us all a valuable lesson today." Nia felt a warmth spread through her chest, a deeper satisfaction than any deal could provide. "Thank you, Prime Minister," she replied, her voice soft but sincere. "It's an honor to partner with Canada, and I look forward to seeing the positive impact we can create together." As she boarded her flight, settled into her seat, and looked out at the vast expanse of the sky, Nia allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection. The whirlwind of the day had been intense, exhilarating, and undeniably transformative. The memory of the concierge, his face twisted in disbelief, faded into the background. What remained was the indelible image of the Prime Minister's outstretched hand, a gesture of respect and partnership that transcended the barriers of prejudice. The journey had begun with a momentary setback by a vending machine, a testament to superficial judgment. But it had culminated in a powerful affirmation of purpose, a global partnership, and a quiet, profound victory. Nia Franklin, the Black CEO who had been denied lounge access, was now poised to redefine not just green technology, but the very landscape of what true power and influence truly meant. Her story, a quiet rebellion against prejudice, had just begun to unfold, ready to inspire countless others to push past closed doors and to let their brilliance shine, no matter where they found themselves. The future, for Nia and for Viridian Innovations, was limitless, bathed in the vibrant emerald hue of possibility. The days following the landmark meeting with Prime Minister Davies unfolded in a whirlwind of activity for Nia and Viridian Innovations. The initial press conference, where she stood confidently beside the Prime Minister, a beacon of innovation and resilience, had sent ripples across the nation. Media outlets, once focused on the scandal of her denied access, now championed her as a symbol of progress and diversity. The story of the wrong dress had morphed into a powerful narrative of overcoming adversity, an unexpected public relations boon that amplified Viridian's message of a sustainable future. Back at Viridian's bustling headquarters, located in a sleek, environmentally conscious building in downtown Toronto, Nia found herself navigating a new level of scrutiny and opportunity. Her team, invigorated by the government partnership, worked tirelessly. Engineers refined prototypes, sales teams fielded inquiries from across the globe, and the research department buzzed with renewed vigor, fueled by the substantial government grants now flowing into their coffers. Nia, ever the visionary, ensured that every aspect of the company's growth aligned with its core values of ethical production and environmental stewardship. Amidst the celebratory chaos, Nia also recognized the increased responsibility. The partnership meant higher stakes, more complex regulatory landscapes, and the weight of national expectation. She delegated with precision, empowering her senior leadership team, fostering a culture of accountability and innovation. Yet, she remained intimately involved in every critical decision, her sharp intellect and unwavering focus guiding the company through its rapid expansion. Her schedule became a relentless ballet of high-level meetings, keynote speeches at international conferences, and strategic planning sessions. She traveled frequently, often in the comfort of private jets provided by the government, a stark contrast to her previous commercial flights. During one such journey, she found herself in conversation with Deputy Minister Ania Sharma, a formidable woman known for her sharp legal mind and her dedication to public service. Deputy Minister Sharma had been present during the lounge incident and had observed Nia with quiet admiration. "The public's response has been extraordinary, Nia," Deputy Minister Sharma commented, her gaze thoughtful as they flew over the Canadian Rockies. "Your story has resonated far beyond the realm of green technology. It's become a symbol of meritocracy, of breaking down barriers." Nia smiled faintly. "It's humbling, Anya. But the real work, the actual impact on climate change, that's what truly matters." "And that's why we chose Veridian," Sharma affirmed. "Your technology speaks for itself, but your resilience, your character, that's what inspires confidence at the highest levels. It's not every day someone turns a moment of blatant discrimination into a national rallying cry for progress." The conversation deepened, exploring the nuances of policy implementation, the challenges of shifting public perception, and the intricate dance between innovation and regulation. Nia found a kindred spirit in Sharma, a woman equally committed to systemic change, albeit through different avenues. This burgeoning alliance with a key government official further solidified Veridian's position, weaving it into the very fabric of Canada's future. Despite the triumphs, Nia remained grounded. She made time for her daily meditation, a practice that helped her maintain clarity amidst the whirlwind. She cherished quiet evenings at her modern minimalist home, a sanctuary designed with sustainable principles where she could recharge and reconnect with herself. The memory of the concierge, while distant, served as a potent reminder of the work still to be done, the systemic biases that persisted beneath the surface of polite society. His employment status at the airport had indeed been addressed, as Prime Minister Davies had promised, a discreet but firm consequence for his discriminatory behavior. One afternoon, a few months into the partnership, Nia received an unexpected call directly from the Prime Minister's office. It was an invitation to a private, informal dîner at Rideau Cottage, the Prime Minister's official residence. This was an exceptionally rare invitation, extended only to those deemed indispensable allies. As she prepared for the evening, choosing a simple, elegant black dress, Nia reflected on the improbable journey that had led her to this moment. From a marginalized girl with big dreams to the CEO of a revolutionary company, and now a trusted partner of the nation's leader. It wasn't just about the technology, it was about demonstrating that excellence transcends outdated notions of class, race, or status. Arriving at Rideau Cottage, a charming stone house nestled within lush grounds, Nia was greeted personally by Prime Minister Davies and his spouse. The atmosphere was warm, relaxed, a stark contrast to the formality of their previous interactions. The conversation flowed easily, touching upon topics beyond business, from Canadian history to global affairs, from personal passions to the challenges of leadership. Nia found herself engaging in a genuine intellectual exchange, not just as a CEO, but as an equal. During dessert, as the conversation turned back to Viridian innovations, Prime Minister Davies leaned forward, his expression earnest. "Nia, your work is not just about clean energy for Canada. We see the potential for Viridian to be a global leader. We want to explore opportunities for international expansion, leveraging Canada's diplomatic network to open doors for your technology in developing nations, in emerging markets where the need for sustainable solutions is most urgent." Nia felt a surge of exhilaration. This was the ultimate vision, the grand purpose she had always held for Viridian: to make a truly global impact, to bring clean energy to those who needed it most, to create a ripple effect of positive change across continents. "Prime Minister," Nia began, her voice filled with a profound conviction. "That is precisely where Viridian's heart lies, to provide accessible, sustainable solutions that empower communities worldwide. We are ready to scale, ready to meet that challenge." The evening concluded with a sense of immense purpose and shared vision. As Nia left Rideau Cottage, under the soft glow of the moon, she felt a profound sense of validation, not from external recognition, but from the alignment of her deepest aspirations with a national and global mission. The wrong dress had indeed opened the right doors, leading her to a path far grander than she could have ever imagined, a path paved with innovation, integrity, and the enduring power of a determined spirit. She was no longer just a black CEO. She was an architect of a sustainable future, her influence extending far beyond the confines of an elite lounge. The global initiative launched by Prime Minister Davies, with Viridian Innovations at its core, thrust Nia into an even more expansive and demanding role. No longer confined to national projects, her vision for sustainable energy was now gaining traction on an international scale. This meant frequent trips to developing nations, meetings with heads of state and environmental ministers, and navigating the intricate geopolitical landscape of global development. Nia thrived in this environment. Her ability to articulate complex technological solutions in an accessible way, combined with her genuine empathy for communities struggling with energy poverty and environmental degradation, made her a compelling advocate. She was a bridge, connecting cutting-edge innovation with tangible, life-altering impact. She oversaw the deployment of Viridian's modular solar grids in remote African villages, bringing light and power where there had only been darkness. She championed the installation of advanced waste-to-energy systems in rapidly growing Asian cities, tackling pollution while generating clean electricity. Each successful project was not just a commercial win, but a profound testament to Viridian's mission. During these international engagements, Nia found herself increasingly interacting with Ambassador Elena Petrova, Canada's highly respected representative to the United Nations. Ambassador Petrova, a seasoned diplomat with a sharp intellect and an even sharper wit, quickly became an invaluable ally. She admired Nia's uncompromising integrity and her quiet strength, recognizing a shared commitment to global betterment. "Your approach to these negotiations is remarkable, Nia," Ambassador Petrova commented during a particularly challenging discussion with representatives from a powerful, fossil fuel-dependent nation. "You don't just present data, you present a narrative of possibility, of a better future. It's disarming." Nia smiled. "It's not just about selling technology, Elena. It's about igniting hope, about showing that progress doesn't have to come at the expense of the planet or its people." This global stage, however, also brought new challenges. Not everyone welcomed Viridian's disruptive innovations. Established energy conglomerates, threatened by the shift towards renewables, launched aggressive smear campaigns, attempting to discredit Viridian's technology and Nia's leadership. There were whispers of sabotage, veiled threats against supply chains, and attempts to poach key talent. The competitive landscape was fierce, and the stakes astronomical. Nia faced these attacks with unwavering resolve. She countered misinformation with transparency, releasing detailed reports and inviting independent audits of Viridian's processes. She rallied her team, reminding them of their collective purpose, strengthening their internal bonds against external pressures. Her experience as an entrepreneur, forged in the fires of limited resources and skepticism, now served her well on a grander scale. She understood the art of the strategic pivot, the importance of maintaining agility, and the necessity of anticipating threats from unexpected directions. One evening, after a particularly grueling week of negotiations in Geneva, Nia was unwinding in her hotel suite, preparing for a video conference with her engineering team back in Toronto. Her phone rang, an unexpected call from Prime Minister Davies. "Nia, I have a sensitive matter to discuss," the Prime Minister began, his voice serious. "Our intelligence agencies have uncovered credible threats against Viridian's upcoming project in the Amazon basin. It appears certain vested interests are attempting to destabilize your operations there, potentially through direct interference and even attempts on key personnel." Nia felt a cold knot tighten in her stomach. The Amazon project was Viridian's most ambitious yet, aiming to provide sustainable energy to remote indigenous communities while simultaneously protecting vast tracts of rainforest. It was a direct challenge to powerful, destructive industries. "What kind of interference, Prime Minister?" Nia asked, her voice steady despite her rising concern. "Everything from industrial espionage to targeted cyber attacks and, regrettably, direct threats to the lives of your on-site team leaders. We believe a powerful conglomerate with significant ties to a corrupt regime is behind it. They see your success in the Amazon as a direct threat to their illicit operations in the region." A grim determination settled over Nia. She had built Viridian on principles of integrity and sustainability. She would not allow shadowy forces to derail their mission, especially when the well-being of vulnerable communities and pristine ecosystems hung in the balance. "Thank you for the warning, Prime Minister," Nia said, her voice firm. "We will increase security protocols immediately, but we will not back down. The Amazon project is too important." "I knew you would say that, Nia," Prime Minister Davies replied, a hint of admiration in his voice. "We're here to support you in every way possible. Ambassador Petrova will be reaching out to coordinate international pressure, and we're exploring discrete options to bolster your on-the-ground security." After the call, Nia immediately convened an emergency virtual meeting with her senior leadership. She laid out the threat with calm precision, outlining the necessary countermeasures: enhanced cybersecurity, robust physical security for their Amazonian sites, and a proactive communication strategy to counter any disinformation campaigns. Her team, accustomed to her decisive leadership, responded with quiet efficiency. In the days that followed, the pressure mounted. Viridian systems faced relentless cyber attacks, thwarted only by their cutting-edge security measures. Reports from the Amazon indicated suspicious activity around their project sites. Nia worked around the clock, her focus absolute, her mind a steel trap of strategic thought. She drew strength from her purpose, from the faces of the communities they served, from the unwavering belief of her team. This global struggle was far more complex than a single concierge's prejudice, yet in a profound way, it was a continuation of the same battle. The fight against ignorance, against self-interest, against the forces that sought to deny access to a better future. Nia, the woman who had once been judged by a dress and a cod, was now at the forefront of a global movement, proving that true power lay not in exclusive lounges, but in the unwavering pursuit for vision that transcended all barriers. Her journey was no longer just a personal triumph. It was a beacon for a world hungry for change. The stakes in the Amazon had never been higher. Nia's team, working closely with Canadian intelligence and local authorities, discovered that the vested interests Prime Minister Davies alluded to were not just a conglomerate, but a powerful, shadowy syndicate deeply entrenched in illegal logging and mining operations. This syndicate, known as the Serpent's Coil, viewed Viridian's clean energy project as a direct threat to their illicit empire, a beacon of transparency and progress shining too brightly into their dark corners. They paraded with ruthless efficiency, the reach extending into corrupt political circles and OMD militias. Nia decided to go to the E-Mason herself. It was a bold, some might say reckless, move. Her security detail vehemently opposed it, citing the escalating threats. But Nia knew that her presence, her direct engagement with the local communities and her team, was crucial. It wasn't just about leadership from afar. It was about embodying Viridian's commitment, about showing that they would not be intimidated. Prime Minister Davies, though concerned, ultimately respected her decision, reinforcing her security and discreetly arranging for additional covert support from Canadian military assets in the region. Arriving in the heart of the Amazon, the humid air thick with the scent of damp earth and verdant foliage, Nia felt a profound connection to the land and its people. She spent days visiting project sites, meeting with tribal elders, listening to their hopes and fears. The indigenous communities, who had long suffered at the hands of the illegal loggers, saw Viridian not just as an energy provider, but as a partner in their fight for survival, a shield against the relentless encroachment of the INA. Serpent's Coil. Her presence, however, did not go unnoticed. The threats escalated. Anonymous messages, sinister in their precision, warned her to abandon the project. There were attempts to disrupt their supply lines, small skirmishes between Viridian's bolstered security and masked assailants. Nia maintained a calm exterior, but the constant vigilance took its toll. Sleep became a luxury, her mind a relentless churn of contingency plans and risk assessments. During one particularly tense meeting with local community leaders, as they discussed defensive strategies, gunfire erupted outside the remote thatch-roofed meeting hut. The Serpent's Coil had launched a direct assault. Nia's security team immediately sprang into action, returning fire, shielding her and the community elders. Chaos ensued, the air thick with the acrid smell of gunpowder and the shouts of combatants. Nia, despite her lack of combat training, reacted with remarkable composure. She quickly assessed the situation, identifying weak points in their defense, using her sharp analytical mind to pinpoint the most vulnerable areas. Her calm under pressure, a trait honed by years of navigating hostile corporate environments, proved invaluable. She directed her security team with quiet authority, her voice cutting through the din of battle, guiding them to reinforce positions, to protect the civilians. Suddenly, a large, hulking figure, a mercenary seemingly immune to the chaos, breached their perimeter. He moved with brutal efficiency, aiming directly for Nia. It was a targeted assassination attempt. Nia, seeing him clearly, knew she had only seconds. Instinct, honed by a lifetime of pushing boundaries and anticipating threats, took over. She ducked under his wild swing, grabbing a heavy wooden stool, and with a surge of adrenaline, swung it with surprising force, connecting squarely with his head. The mercenary stumbled, momentarily disoriented, giving her security team the precious seconds they needed to neutralize him. The skirmish was intense, but short-lived. The Serpent's Coil forces, realizing they had been repelled by a surprisingly well-coordinated defense, retreated back into the dense jungle, leaving behind a few wounded and the lingering stench of fear. The Moonwood communities, though shaken, were safe. In the aftermath, as the dust settled, Nia's security chief, a grizzled veteran named Commander Davies, no relation to the Prime Minister, looked at her with a newfound respect. "Madam Franklin," he stated, his voice gruff but impressed, "you handled yourself remarkably. Most civilians would have frozen." Nia simply nodded, her adrenaline slowly receding, leaving her trembling. She wasn't a soldier, but she was a leader, and she would protect her mission and her people at all costs. the incident only heartened her resolve. Back in her temporary jungle base, Nia received a call from Prime Minister Davies. He had been immediately informed of the attack. His voice was filled with deep concern, but also a profound admiration. "Nia, you are a force of nature. We're dispatching additional resources. This changes everything. We will no longer tolerate these attacks. Canadian government will use every diplomatic and strategic lever at its disposal to ensure your safety and the success of this project." End quote. The attack in the Amazon served as a brutal awakening, not just for Nia, but for the Canadian government. It transformed their partnership from a purely economic and environmental endeavor into a matter of national security and international justice. The quiet fight for clean energy had become a very public, very dangerous confrontation with a powerful criminal syndicate. Nia, standing firm amidst the untouched beauty of the Amazonian rainforest, knew that the path ahead was fraught with peril. But she also knew that her initial humiliation in an airport lounge, her struggle for recognition, had forged within her an unshakable resilience. She had faced prejudice and petty gatekeepers, and now she faced a far more dangerous, tangible enemy. But she would not yield. Viridian Innovations and its mission were too vital. The Black CEO, who had been denied lounge access, was now leading a global charge against environmental crime, her commitment unwavering, her spirit unbroken. The future of the Amazon, and indeed a piece of the world, rested on her shoulders, and she was ready for the fight. The battle for the Amazon became a high-stakes chess match, a dangerous dance between Viridian Innovations' relentless progress and the Serpent's Coil's desperate attempts to maintain its grip on illicit power. Nia, from her temporary base, became the strategic mastermind, coordinating efforts across multiple fronts. She wasn't just a CEO anymore. She was an operational commander, her days filled with tactical briefings, intelligence analysis, and crisis management. The Canadian government's response, galvanized by the direct attack on Nia, was swift and decisive. Ambassador Petrova, leveraging her considerable diplomatic influence, initiated international pressure on the corrupt regimes tied to the Serpent's Coil, threatening sanctions and investigations. This diplomatic offensive began to squeeze the syndicate's financial lifelines, disrupting the network and forcing them to scramble. Simultaneously, discreet military support provided by Canada, working in tandem with legitimate local forces, began to dismantle the syndicate's armed militia, weakening their on-the-ground capabilities. Nia's personal experiences, particularly her intimate understanding of how power structures operate, proved invaluable. She anticipated the syndicate's moves, predicting their attempts to infiltrate local communities with disinformation and bribery. To counter this, she initiated a robust community engagement program, sending Viridian representatives alongside trusted local leaders to educate villages about the benefits of sustainable energy and the dangers posed by the illicit operations. She ensured that the profits from Viridian's projects directly benefited the communities, empowering them to resist external pressures. This grassroots effort became a powerful shield, turning the local populace into vigilant allies. The cyber attacks against Viridian also intensified. The Serpent's Coil, desperate to disrupt their operations, launched sophisticated multi-pronged assaults on their data centers and communication networks. Nia, with her deep understanding of technology, worked tirelessly with her cybersecurity team, implementing advanced defensive measures, often staying awake for days, fueled by coffee and an unyielding determination. She even employed a honeypot strategy, setting up decoy servers to lure and trap the syndicate's hackers, gathering crucial intelligence about their tactics and origins. One particularly intense week saw a coordinated effort to shut down Viridian's primary energy grid in one of the remote Amazonian communities. The attack was brutal, designed to plunge the village back into darkness, sowing chaos and distrust. Nia, connected remotely, directed her engineering team with surgical precision, guiding them through the complex restoration process. For hours, she was a whirlwind of commands, data analysis, and encouragement, her voice a steadying presence amidst the technical jargon and mounting pressure. By dawn, the lights flickered back on, and the collective sigh of relief from the community, conveyed through their grateful local contacts, resonated deeply with Nia. They had weathered the storm. During this period of heightened tension, Nia found solace and strength in unexpected connections. She often had long, late-night calls with Prime Minister Davies, not just about strategy, but about the mental toll of leadership, the weight of responsibility. He saw in her not just a business partner, but a fellow leader facing immense pressure, and their professional relationship evolved into one of mutual respect and genuine camaraderie. "How do you sustain this, Nia?" the Prime Minister once asked her, his voice tinged with admiration. "The relentless pressure, the constant threats. It's enough to break anyone." Nia paused, looking out at the dense jungle canopy illuminated by the moon. "It's the purpose, Prime Minister," she replied, her voice soft but firm. "Knowing that what we're doing isn't just about profit, it's about protecting this planet, empowering these communities. That's what fuels me. And seeing the impact, the hope in their eyes, that makes it all worth it." The prolonged struggle, however, took its toll on the Serpent's Coil. Their illicit operations, choked by diplomatic pressure and military intervention, became increasingly unprofitable. Their once loyal militias, facing consistent defeat and dwindling resources, began to fracture. Leadership within the syndicate became paranoid, turning on each other as their empire crumbled. Finally, a crucial piece of intelligence emerged from Nia's captured cyber attackers: the location of the Serpent's Coil's central command post, a heavily fortified compound deep within a remote, uncharted section of the rainforest. This was the heart of their operation, where their shadowy leaders, including the enigmatic figure known only as the Serpent, orchestrated their crimes. Nia immediately conveyed this information to Prime Minister Davies. The decision was made to launch a decisive, surgical strike. It was a risky operation, but a necessary one to finally dismantle the syndicate and secure the future of the Amazon project. As the joint forces prepared for the raid, Nia felt a sense of grim satisfaction. The fight had been long, arduous, and fraught with danger. But they were finally on the precipice of victory. She wasn't on the front lines of the assault, but she knew her strategic mind, her unwavering resolve, and her tireless efforts had been instrumental in bringing them to this point. A few weeks later, news broke globally. The Serpent's Coil's command post had been successfully raided, their leadership captured, and their operations crippled. The Serpent himself was apprehended, a figure whose criminal enterprise had long eluded justice. Viridian Innovations, with Canadian government backing, was hailed as a key player in the operation, their technology and Nia's intelligence proving vital in dismantling the syndicate. The Amazon project flourished, becoming a shining example of sustainable development, a testament to the power of clean energy and community empowerment. Nia, now more than ever, was a recognized global leader, her influence extending far beyond the boardrooms of multinational corporations. The wrong dress incident, once a symbol of prejudice, had been utterly overshadowed by the profound impact of her work, transforming into a powerful narrative of resilience and triumph. Nia returned to Canada, exhausted but triumphant. Her homecoming was met with celebrations, not just within Viridian, but across the nation. Prime Minister Davies hosted a formal gala in her honor, where he publicly lauded her courage and vision, acknowledging her indispensable role in both national development and international justice. As she stood on the podium, bathed in the glow of flashing cameras, accepting accolades, Nia's gaze drifted across the room. She caught a glimpse of a familiar face, now in a different uniform, standing discreetly by the door. It was the former concierge, no longer working at the airport lounge, but now employed in a more junior capacity as an event staff member, his face a blend of humility and quiet respect. Their eyes met, and this time there was no disdain, no judgment, only a silent acknowledgement of how far they both had come, albeit on very different trajectories. Nia offered a small, knowing smile. Her journey had taken her from a place of exclusion to a position of immense influence, not by demanding access, but by creating value, by building a future. She had proven that true leadership wasn't about the doors that were opened for you, but about the doors you opened for others. Her story, which began with a quiet moment by a vending machine, had evolved into a powerful testament to the enduring force of resilience, purpose, and the transformative power of a vision that transcended every barrier.